Hello, welcome back to Radio Free Gastonia, the internet's number one source for unreliable, just good enough history content. Welcome back. It's been a while since I've tuned in here. I'm sorry. It's been a very complicated and difficult season in my life, I should say. Um, yeah, it's been complicated. But anyway, I've been reading Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I finally catching up on my, fiction um, duties. It's one of those things I've always wanted to read. I've not really read much McCarthy, um, but I want to read it. And there's this passage from it that I think is kind of famous, but I want to read it. And it speaks to me because I've been, in the last couple of years, like really, like trying to find some thread through a lot of confusion and nonsense. Coming to a point in my life where the old certitudes didn't hold anymore. If people have been following this channel for a while, they maybe know a little bit about that, but um, I had to change my life a lot. And that has not been easy. It's been happening in a political and cultural context that's like pretty unfriendly in a lot of ways. But you know, uh, I've never wanted to be out on my own, and I have been for the last almost 2 years now, maybe more. But yeah, what Cormac McCarthy says really it spoke to me. So I'll just read it. The truth about the world, he said, is that anything is possible. Had you not seen it all from birth, and thereby bled it of its strangeness, it would appear to you for what it is, a hat trick in a medicine show, a fevered dream, a trance bepopulate with chimeras, having neither analog nor precedent, an itinerant carnival, a migratory tent show whose ultimate destination, after many a pitch and many a mudded field, is unspeakable and calamitous beyond reckoning. The universe is no narrow thing. I'm sorry. The universe is no narrow thing, and the order within it is not constrained by any latitude in its conception to repeat what exists in one part in any other part. Even in this world, more things exist without our knowledge than with it, and the order in creation which you see is that which you have put there, like a string in a maze, so that you shall not lose your way. For existence has its own order, and that no man's mind can compass, that mind itself being a fact among others. Your mind is a fact among others. I think this is so interesting because it really reminds me of that wonderful passage from Simone Weil about going into the labyrinth. Um, you know, Simone talks about somebody wandering into a maze, like a hedge maze from like The Shining or something like that, or the Minotaur or whatever. Um, and she talks about like somebody gets lost. They're so lost in this maze. They're far away from all their friends and family. Um, they don't have a pot to piss in. They're like lost, and they're just wandering, and they're so scared, and they're so alone. But eventually, she says, if you keep pushing, if you keep pushing, pressing on, pressing forward, you'll find the center of the maze. And then there's God, and God will eat you. And once God's chewed you up and digested you and spitted you out, you'll go back to the entrance of the maze and want to guide everyone in there because you're like, you've been changed, you've been transformed, because you've learned something, you've been changed, you've been like you you're a different person than you used to be because you witnessed the truth or you experienced the truth. Um, Cormac McCarthy definitely does not seem to have that kind of faith. In fact, he says that like it's just a giant mess. Like it's just a bewildering, confusing um, pile of nonsense. Um, Many a muddled field is unspeakable and calamitous beyond reckoning. Like, I mean, if we look at the world today, I'm recording this on November 6th, 2023, um, a genocide is happening in Palestine right now, um, aided and abetted by the U.S. government. And if you had to ask me, I would say yes. It's a mudded field, unspeakable and calamitous beyond reckoning. That is the reality of life. That's not always the reality. We have a lot of good things, like we get to go out for breakfast or hang out with our family or friends or watch a good movie. Like, it's not all calamity, but like at the moment, yeah, I mean, like you could reel off a number of like catastrophes, but and catastrophes to come too, which I think anybody who's paying attention can imagine what those are. But yeah, I mean, McCarthy is saying something that speaks to me, which is that like the world is confusing. Um, when you watch like Murder She Wrote or Hercule Poirot mystery show or like the show Monk or something, like there's always like, oh well, I saw this one little hair on the door jamb, or well, they left a little print here. Like everything adds up and makes sense. Like everything's very clockwork, like in a literal sense. Like it's very mechanical. It's like the world is understandable because you can find these little clues, the little pieces of evidence, and add it up, and then the world is intelligible. But I think like most of life doesn't really work like a TV detective procedural kind of show. Um, the fact is, like McCarthy says, um, we're often just um, following a string in a maze, like trying to drop breadcrumbs back to where we're from. I felt like that a lot lately because I've been out here in California and I've had some bad things happen to me recently. And I mean, when I had my horrible car accident and I was stranded alone in San Luis Obispo, or more recently when my phone and car keys were stolen and I got in a fight with this guy, um, yeah, I was alone. Like I was like, how do I follow the thread back to where I need to be? Because without a phone or car keys, you're in 21st century America, you're pretty like in shit situation. Um, so I guess what I'm saying is that for me, like coming to California, being driving 3,000 miles by myself in the middle of nowhere, staying in some kind of shady places along the way, and trying to start over because there was just too much sadness and heartbreak back where I was living. Um, I was plunging into the unknown, and I guess this Cormac McCarthy like quote really like makes sense to me because I don't think the world is just, you know, a hat trick in a medicine show, a fever dream, a trance to be populate with chimeras, having neither analog nor precedent, an itinerant carnival, a migratory tent show, whose ultimate destination after many a pitch. I don't really think I don't think that's necessarily what life is, but it could be. Like, if I had been seriously injured in that car accident, or if I'd gotten more hurt in this most recent little conflagration, I could have been. I mean, I got kicked in the face, and we got in a fight. You know, we exchanged some blows, but like, um, I could have been very hurt, or I could have gotten arrested, or whatever. Um, and so I'm out here, kind of floating in space, um, but I still have, I feel like I have a lot of support and a lot of help. Um, Even though in those moments when you feel like you're just trying to find the thread and trying to like find your way home, um, you're not necessarily alone. Most of us are not alone. There might be some people who are truly alone who just don't like have anyone to turn to, and that's a very sad thing. But um, I hope I could be there for somebody who is in that situation. But um, I've been thinking a lot about a song by the Carter Family, um, "Anchored in Love Divine." It's one of my favorite songs, and it's one of the few like sort of mystical experiences I've ever had in my I remember listening to that song, and I was reading this book. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's called Resonance. It was like about like sound and vibrations and things like that. And I was reading it, and then I listened to the song by the Carter Family, "Anchored in Love Divine," like a gospel like folk song, and I just felt so so held and so protected when listening to that. And I don't know, that's probably a figment of my imagination, but it's not untrue either. Like that song is about being anchored in love divine, like feeling protected, feeling safe, because there's something out there, a God, or there are other people, or there's somebody who cares about you and wants you to be safe. And as much as I've like had some pretty rough times out here, getting roofied, breaking my pelvis, getting attacked by an insane transphobic homeless person, um, in spite of all that, I'm still anchored in love divine, and that's kind of how I see it. So I'm emotionally leaning on the Cormac McCarthy side, but uh, philosophically and intellectually, I'm leaning on the Simone Weil side, which is that we are actually finding the center of the labyrinth, and we are actually trying to do good and help people. Um, that's all. I guess that's it. Anyway, this has been a long update. It's been a while, but I'm still working on my research and my project about the care industry, care work. And I'm hoping to share more of that soon. But anyway, thank you for listening. This is my dumbass. I will see you soon, I hope. See you on the flip side.